Come a bet on me and my team. Twice on Sunday, got it out the mud, showing battle Texas what it's overtime. Too legit to quit, I'ma move my feet like it's hammer time. We got most of the time to make some moves. All the smoke, we don't pick and choose. I'm here now, I done pay my dues. Can't pour to me, ain't no switching crew. Blood, sweat, and tears, time to put it in this. I know that you hoping I stop. Can't touch me, I know you hoping I flop. Big stepping all the way to the top. Big stepping, we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard and I can't lose. I'm stacking days.
All right, here we are. LSU Football Postgame Show, recapping the LSU versus Nicholls State game we all just sat and watched for however many hours that was. Lloyd was in Tiger Stadium for the grand opening, year 100?
Year
of
100.
Tiger Stadium? What did you think of the atmosphere, Lloyd?
Atmosphere was good. A lot of people, a little suspect, but the atmosphere was good. Light show was electric at the second, to start the second half. I can see the potential of what it's going to be. I'd miss the call in Baton Rouge to get back here, but I could see what they're going for, and also the DJ is my age.
Really?
It is all the songs that I grew up jigging to, so I get it. A lot of people probably won't be happy, but they're making it a much more fun atmosphere than it has been in years past.
Good. No, that's a win, because LSU obviously
Get some Cordell in there.
has had the best atmosphere, and so for them to be able to upgrade it and kind of catch up with the times is definitely a good sign. But this football game, the first half, I would say wasn't a good sign. It was not very pretty. As good as the stadium looked and the atmosphere was, the defense did not look that good to start the football game. But LSU was able to not escape. They were able to run away with it in the second half. The final score, I think, was 44-21, which is definitely not what I thought the score was going to be. But they still won by 3 touchdowns. But we've got Lloyd in here. Justin's here next to me. Everybody say hello to Justin. He's a new part of the crew. He's going to be here with us on these post-game shows. But yeah, I think
the man watches more football than anybody I think 100%. I've ever met. Like, it's got the big brain over there.
100%.
On Justin, we were coming in for the Friday show, and he had takes for the Thursday night football game. It was like LSU show. He's like, no, we got to talk about Thursday night football, and he knew everything. So a very needed piece. Considering that no one knows what he's talking about, I don't know what I'm talking about, but he knows what he's talking about. So good squad here.
I know a little bit.
Lloyd's being humble over there, but
am I?
But that was it's a win. It's a win in the win column. LSU is now 1-1 on the season. I think we'll start with the offense here. I think the offense looked great, except for the run game. But we're going to start with Garrett Nussmeier, who had 6 touchdowns. The third quarterback in LSU history to do that statistically. I think Jayden Daniels and Burrow obviously are the other 2 that have done that. But Nussmeier had a great game. He definitely missed some throws. There were some deep balls that he didn't quite put on the money. He did pull the trigger a little too fast on some throws, but I think all in all he put together quite the performance and looked good. And I think if Garrett Nussmeier plays like that and continues to LSU is going to continue to be in football games. Kyron Lacey is a surefire wide receiver 1. He has done exactly what's been needed of him. He built off of that first half performance in game 1. It was definitely a point to be made by the coaching staff to get Kyron Lacey the ball. He had 3 of those 6 Garrett Nussmeier touchdowns. One of them was a little scary. He decided to go up top over a defender into the end zone and looked like right on his coccyx.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing. They're like, what happened to him? He heard his coccyx.
Yep.
They're like, what's that? It's like his back.
His butt bone.
That'd be his butt bone.
Yep.
Give him the old school butt pad. Like loop that thing.
He landed right on that lower back coccyx.
A little bit of.
Yeah.
I will say for Nicholls, they did not hesitate to leap up in the air and try to hurdle a few defenders. They were not hesitant with that.
Yeah, 100%. No, and Mason Taylor also tried to hurdle there in the second half. I wasn't the biggest fan of seeing LSU's 2 biggest weapons offensively try to jump over defenders in this matchup against an FCS school. But Kyron Lacey looked great. Garrett Nussmeier looked good. Trey'Dez Green got in the end zone, got a touchdown. Jawan Johnson looks great. I mean, they didn't really hand him the ball, but catching out of the backfield, I mean, that is money. I think I know for sure myself, I didn't really have high expectations for him to be a integral part of the offense, getting called up to be a running back and moved over. But after seeing the way they used him today, catching some of those balls out of the backfield, I think he's definitely going to be a weapon that LSU continues to use.
Well, that's what's interesting about the entire offensive philosophy is like you have playmakers kind of everywhere in a sense, and you insert a guy. That's what makes me wonder if they've been working on this a little bit on the side. Doesn't seem like it, but
right.
As soon as moment of silence for John Emery because hate to see it, but Jawan Johnson was a part of the game plan.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I don't know if that is just a Nicholls thing or it's like they're going to want to use this moving forward, but that's something you could have done with Zavion Thomas, Aaron Anderson, and a different part of the passing game that they haven't explored yet. Because when Kyron Lacey went out with like it looked like a little high ankle or a knee kind of deal, when I don't think Tiger Stadium's ever been that silent because. And kudos to Kyron Lacey for getting the respect from going from wide receiver 3 to gotta have him.
Right.
And it was kind of a moment of silence there, like, what are they going to do offensively? That's where I think LSU could kind of explore some different parameters of what they want to do and move, like push it boundary to boundary as opposed to try to see some deep stuff that just didn't really matriculate.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think with, Jawan Johnson and getting the ball into his hands out of the backfield in the pass game, it's a great idea. And I liked the little, the little shovel pass.
Kind of a weapon.
100%. And I think they're going to continue to use him. But that little shovel play to Zavion Thomas to score a touchdown, those are the things that LSU is going to have to continue to do game plan-wise to kind of and essentially bulk up the run game because that's an extension of the – I know it's a pass in the stat sheet, but that is a run play.
He said it over the air. He was like, that's a pass play.
Right.
But – and I understand it, and from LSU's perspective, like let's do the good, bad, the ugly. Start off with the good in your mind, like let it go down because I think a lot of people are a little bit more negative than I anticipated.
Right. Yeah. I think good was Garrett Nussmeier in the wide receiver core. I think you really saw that LSU has a well-rounded core of receivers. You saw a better game from C.J. Daniels. Kyron Lacey, like we said, is a surefire number one, and his hands have drastically improved from
the
past seasons. Yes. Yeah. But but I think Garrett Nussmeier today, he made a lot of very good. There was one throw that got called back because Shelton Sampson lined up in the wrong spot, and it was a Sunday throw from Garrett Nussmeier. It was outstanding. And so I think the good was Garrett Nussmeier in this wide receiving core. I think they definitely kind of flexed their muscles a little bit. And you saw how they used a bunch of different guys. I think Aaron Anderson kind of continued some production, which was good to see. The passing out of the backfield, like we said, to Jawan Johnson. The use of Trey'Dez Green was good. So I think the receiving core and Garrett Nussmeier were most definitely the good. And in my sense, you could even call it great when it comes to what we saw today. Justin, did you see anything that stood out?
I think the big thing that stood out to me is – obviously, Kyron Lacey is your number one, right?
Right.
And he had a great start to the USC game last week. But in the second half of the USC game last week, he wasn't really featured. I think he had like two total targets in the second half. So, and I know it's in Nicholls, but I feel like coming into the game, they were like, he had 2 total targets in the second half. That's not going to happen again.
Right.
We're going to get him involved. Because he is your number one. He's the guy. He and Nuss have a little bit of a connection going, obviously, because Kyron had 3 touchdowns tonight. And I really like them getting Kyron more involved. He was obviously involved in the first half last Sunday against USC, but he was really involved the whole game in the game plan here. And obviously he should be because, like I said, he's your wide receiver 1.
Right.
I also like getting Aaron Anderson involved. I really like that. I really like Aaron Anderson. C.J. Daniels, that was good to see.
That's who I was going to bring up. That was something that was much needed to 100%. Be able to see. And when they had to have him, they went to him like early and often.
Yeah.
I think that was good to see because he's that kind of a player where you can utilize him to be. It doesn't have to be all Kyron Lacey all the time.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think Aaron Anderson's kind of stepped up to be the 3. in my opinion. I think he's kind of slid in next to Daniels and Kyron Lacey to be wide receiver 3. As Kyle Parker was out and Chris Hilton was out today. And Shelton Sampson really didn't get involved the way that I think we all kind of expected after Kelly had spoke about it. Obviously we're not seeing what's going on in practice anymore, so I don't know if he didn't have a good week or what the deal was, but definitely not the involvement we thought Shelton Sampson was going to have.
Because you're still looking for that one little extra vertical threat.
Right.
Like you saw Nuss try to push it down the field a little bit, but it wasn't the playmaker that you saw against, obviously, when he came in against Georgia, and it was huck it, chuck it, fuck it football. And then when you saw him against Wisconsin, it was, I know the receivers aren't the same, but it feels like they kind of keeping the reins on him a little bit. The one thing I would say about Nuss is when it got not as easy for him, he started to fall into bad habits of kind of drifting back, not stepping into the pocket, and then kind of throwing it up for grabs a little bit. Even against the Nicholls team where it's like you can get away with that. There's a couple throws that he made that you won't be able to get away with against SEC teams.
Especially, and when you talk about SEC teams, you got that next week. Next Saturday you're traveling to Columbia, South Carolina, and game day will be in town.
I wanted to talk about that. Finding out that game is game day. Obviously, we're going to go in there, walk in there favored. And obviously, I think we definitely are a better team than South Carolina. But I do not like that game being a game day game. Because that stadium is going to get into it. And it's going to, it's not a night game, thank God. If it was a night game, I would be really nervous. But I did not expect South Carolina to be, we were talking about it a little before the show started. South Carolina crushed Kentucky today, and I didn't expect that. I don't think a lot of people expected that. Another team I didn't think people expected to be as good as they seem, even though they lost today, is Arkansas.
Right.
And I don't think Arkansas or South Carolina is on the level of LSU, but they're not as bad as people thought they were preseason.
Yeah.
They're not bad teams. And those are two teams you play on the road. So you're going to have to bring your A game, and you're the better team. But with that game being in game day, it's going to be an interesting scenario next week because 11 a.m., South Carolina, tough place to play.
Yep.
Definitely, with that game being a game day game, I feel like that's really, really going to be interesting and a tough early test for the Tigers.
No, I agree. I think game day going there is obviously a sign that the game, the stack of games next week, the schedule isn't, the prettiest. There's not too many big games on the slate, but I definitely agree with you, Justin, that I think that game day is really going to get those South Carolina fans out there early in the morning. But LSU has fared well in these 11 a.m. kicks over the last few seasons. Last year against Missouri, that was LSU's, I think, marquee win of the season last year. The year before that, Mississippi State, they were able to, they've kind of been able to win some of these 11 a.m. kicks. I remember the Florida 11 a.m. kick in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, that was crazy.
The Ty Davis-Price game. They've been able to handle some 11 a.m. kicks, but South Carolina looked great today. Their quarterback, Sellers, was
Great
a little
stretch. They looked better than they did against Old Dominion.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think Sellers kind of got comfortable. He was very uncomfortable week one. In the second half against Kentucky, he definitely kind of settled in and was playing his game of football.
We got a call.
Here is our first call of the night. Y'all call in. Give us y'all's takes, Justin. If you want to throw your headphones on, we're gonna take what this guy's got to say.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hello. We got you.
Headphones somewhere?
Hold on. Oh, he hung up. Give me a second. Give me a second. Make sure this thing works. It's a little finicky.
There should be headphones on the side of it. They're probably on the ground.
All right. Now we're rolling.
All right.
I'm going to call him back.
Let's see. We're going to get that caller back. But, yeah, we're going to take you guys' calls, get in here. But, yeah, I think the good was definitely the offense. And next week's going to be a very interesting test for LSU.
All right. You loud, buddy.
Hello. Lloyd's working on it back there. We're going to get you guys in here. We're going to see what y'all have got to say. And, maybe have a little playful banter back and forth as we recap the LSU versus Nicholls game. Hello.
Hello?
You got me? There we go. All right, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Central Louisiana.
All right, what's your name?
Jameson.
All right,
Winston?
Jameson, what you got for us?
How do you think the defense did tonight?
That's my cousin, by the way.
Oh, nice. Nepotism just started off.
There we go.
That's
Love
my
it.
cousin.
Love it. But, yeah, no, defensively, I think it definitely was not a pretty game. We're talking about the first half and that first drive of the second half, the 67-yard run from Guggenheim of Nicholls. They definitely buttoned it up in the second half. I think LSU's defense definitely put itself together in the second half and was able to adjust and progress. I think in the first half, it was just kind of a mix of not being as fired up for this game, and the effort was a little bit lower for a matchup with a team like Nicholls, mixed in with the fact that there were things that LSU needed to work on. And the defensive line did not, look very good against a Nicholls State FCS offensive line. But I do think what you saw in that second half was a defense that showed the effort they should have showed, and they began to fix things. So it wasn't pretty, but I think it was, it was a good day for the defense when it comes to that second half.
All right, Sean's calling in.
All right, Sean.
Sean, the floor is yours, buddy.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'm just saying. It's just not. It wasn't good. That was bad.
Yeah.
What was bad?
Yeah. What did you not like?
I didn't. Interior run defense not great.
Agreed.
All right, so we'll do that. Nuss throws off his back foot a lot. Not great. He also might be hurt. Not great.
No, that was a cramp.
Yeah, well, he cramped. Well, I will say he did. He cramped up and then he tried to get back in the game before the field goal in the second half.
Yeah, that was a bit of a concern as to the process, but that was a confusing situation as to time and down and what to do, because if you have 9 seconds left, then you're obviously going to want another play, but if you don't.
At least he wanted to get back on the field. I'll take that for what it's worth. I will say that the defense kind of looked stinky.
They gave up.
They regressed after last week. It looked very bad.
You gave up 14. You gave up 14 in the first half, and then the opening drop touchdown. You gave up 7 points, and that was it.
We were playing a bunch of white dudes from Manny.
Yeah, they all want to play for LSU.
Yeah, well, they all wanted to beat LSU.
Yeah, exactly. They gave it their best effort. See, this is why I want to have Sean on the show, because he is the voice of the people.
100%.
I sat literally behind somebody that was saying the exact same thing. You're saying you would have probably fist fought him, but y'all have the same brain. Like,
I'm just saying, it's like a bunch of what? Like, that dude was in blackface.
I thought he was wearing a visor.
Yeah, Lloyd came in saying the guy with the dark visor.
No, he went war mode.
He was in blackface. It was wild.
Guggenheim.
He thought he was very good. They're playing running back.
They played Wildcat. But stick to your takes. What you got?
Yeah.
Leave blackface for Saturday Night Live. Jesus.
I mean, that's what he did. And he showed up. He played well. I just don't understand, like, the interior linemen aren't that great. Harold Perkins doesn't care.
He doesn't care?
I just don't think he plays that well. The Weeks play better than he does, both of them.
Sean, this is a hot take for a lot of people.
I'm just saying.
You're off Perk?
No, I'm not off Perk. I just don't think he was. Maybe he wasn't put in the best position today to play well.
Okay, so here's my take on this entire situation, which I think a lot of people are a little concerned about. This was a glorified scrimmage. This is a practice where they're working on different things to be able to get LSU ready for what you want to see against an Ole Miss team. No, Ole Miss is what you're trying to get ready for. Now, having South Carolina have game day is fun. That's interesting. That throws a little bit of a wrinkle to get them kind of fired up. But I think LSU, bare bones, they could score whenever they could score whenever they want. They could score whenever they wanted. They could score whenever they wanted.
That's the concerning part is
LSU could score whatever they wanted.
Yeah, kind of. But you're also missing a lot of key players right now, right? So you're missing Hilton's out.
Parker's out.
Yes.
That's your LSU muscle, dude.
I'm just like, you're missing a lot of guys. The interior lineman, your center's out, so you got a freshman center.
Not
You're not
out,
really-
he's a starter. DJ Chester's a starter.
I know. No, what? Fair enough. Thought he was out.
But yeah,
Who
no, I
was
mean,
out?
Dellinger was out, the guard.
Thank
I
you.
definitely think that the interior defensive line does have to step up. They didn't play well, particularly last week. They definitely didn't play well today because Nicholls was able to run the ball way too easily, especially in that first half.
I still think Major Burns is out of pocket in his position. Like, he can't tackle.
I definitely think the safety room does need some adjustments. I think I liked seeing Spears out there, Kylan Jackson the same.
We're just changing Sage Ryan's number to hide him. It's still Sage Ryan.
To what?
to hide him.
To hide?
Which I thought was interesting, and I think it's something that LSU could develop on, is when they put,
Definitely.
and it was the first drive of the second half, which is not great because it was a new look that LSU was trying to work on. But you saw Perk move kind of to that star position. I may be wrong, but they put him more down, like around the line of scrimmage, moved Major Burns to safety, and Sage Ryan played a ton of safety in the second half. Like, I think that's things that you could definitely improve upon.
You know what I'll say this. You know what you can't lose to is a white guy running up your ass.
That's true. I mean,
I agree. I agree.
What are we doing?
Christian
There's got a white
McCaffrey out
dude
there.
in blackface running up your defense.
No, I agree, and I will hear a little bit of what you're saying about Harold Perkins. He only had 3 tackles tonight, total tackles, which is not.
I don't think he cares. That
he
much.
does. Shut up. He
He
definitely
does
cares.
care. He
I-
just-
No, dude, it's a curse.
It's a feel it out period, dude. Like, that's just what this is.
It's the curse of the 7.
Okay, you're done.
The curse of 7.
No, I think next week will be the telltale sign for Harold Perkins.
The sad thing is that Sean's like the majority of what people think.
No, 100%. 100%. We've got another call coming in.
It's Sean again.
It's Sean calling back.
What?
All right,
You're live.
All right, I'll stop saying the curse of the 7. But I do think there's a little bit to say about the interior defense, like, really not doing much.
No, I agree.
And that's a bigger point that we need to talk about because Jacobian Guillory was obviously out
Yes.
at some point in the game.
Apparently very hurt.
Yeah, there is no. Brian Kelly said tonight that there is no report on Jacobian,
That means he's hurt.
and so when he came out of the injury tent, he was put in a wheelchair, and his leg was
Yeah,
wrapped
exactly.
up. So it's definitely not.
He's very hurt.
It's definitely not going
That's
to
the
be pretty.
definition of very hurt.
And it's and that
Alexandria, maybe stand up.
that is going. He can't. He's in the wheelchair. He's hurt. He's very hurt, and that's gonna. The LSU defensive line room is also very hurt because he is an integral part of that interior defensive line.
He was kind of the guy. Like, he's supposed to be the anchor.
I mean, yeah, BK talked about it. He was the most improved player on the defense and somebody that they really relied on to be able to anchor that thing, and that's a concern.
100%.
Any other takeaways? Aside from what you said earlier, don't say that again.
All right.
Respectable program here.
I think Harold's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7's the best player on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, the Weeks play good, both of them.
I think the linebackers as a whole played well today. I don't
Dude,
think
there was nothing better than seeing 2 Weeks brothers bump heads and be like, we fucking make a tackle. That's fun.
it was like you and Lloyd.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, except I'm the younger one.
So we never made a tackle.
Speak for yourself, brother.
we missed a couple tackles. And it's like, hey, that's fun, right?
Yeah, we're all here together.
Touchdown.
No, that like I said, there were some moments in the game that you were like, all right, you shouldn't be able, if you're Nicholls, you shouldn't be able to run the ball the way that you are.
So,
they lined it up right up like mouth to mouth and said, try and stop us. And LSU, that's a deficiency. Same thing offensively. Like, I think LSU
Also,
needs to be able to run the ball a little bit better.
I will say defensively, your cornerbacks are still like 15 yards off the ball. I thought we stopped doing that.
I'm telling you, they're working on new things. That's the entire part of what today was. Like, people are looking far too much into what this game is because you're playing against a Nicholls team. But did it get a little close and a little squirrely? It never was. You could do whatever you wanted against them offensively, and you took advantage of that. So you tried to explore new defensive looks, and
Can I
that's
say
just
something
what
that
it
might
was.
be controversial?
No, but sure.
No. Nuss missed a bunch of throws.
He did. He definitely did miss some throws, but he also made a bunch of big-time throws, and he played well. I think Nuss played well.
Nuss played
I know,
great.
well, like statistically.
Oh yeah, do it again. Spell it.
I have Alzheimer's. But he's just like he's very much off his back foot, and he's also throwing to a place that's out of bounds.
I said the same thing. I thought he fell into some old habits where he was kind of falling back and going into old Nuss because, like I said, I don't know if when Kyron Lacey came out the game, there's a couple moments where you're like, where are you looking? And it was Mason Taylor. And this is after a game. I don't think the game plan was the same as it was versus USC, where he spread it around and got 10 different targets to 10 different receivers. There was also a bunch of good in that game that people are going to gloss over because it's against Nicholls, and that's just the way people want to paint it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did paint this picture to you 4 days ago about how Kansas City uses 2 tight end sets with.
You saw a lot of that.
Yeah. But you should be able to use Mason Taylor as a bait and Pimpton as either over the middle or inside or outside routes. Where it's like, that's a dump off. That's easy 10 yards. Pimpton. Well, you can put those 2 really good tight ends, tight set, and then run one over the middle, one to the far side of the field. Like, that's easy 5 yards. Bang, bang. I think Sloan is having a hard time adjusting to calling plays.
I think he's got a bunch of weapons that he's trying to utilize and get them comfortable, which is why you saw a bunch of Trey'Dez Green. And you didn't see him. You saw him in one play last week. Like, I appreciate you being the voice of Tiger Droppings. This is great.
Right. No,
No, I don't even read Tiger Droppings. I'm just
Well,
you
buddy, if you like reading your autobiography.
Do I know my handle?
No, I think
like some
but I
other
think
books.
Sloan's play calling tonight was better than it was last week. I think it improved from last week, especially the second half last week to tonight's ball game.
So we all agree that the defense played very poorly today.
I think in the second half they actually played relatively
they played
good.
Great.
Mm-hmm. They played good
No,
in the
they didn't
second
get
half.
no takeaways. They get no pressure.
Just
What are you
multiple
talking-
3 and outs. All right. Appreciate you. Love you. Viewership is dropping off rapidly because of you.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if we're talking about the defense, something with the defense, and I was talking to Noah about this before the game. Second half, this doesn't apply to the second half, but there were points in this game where I thought the defense looked much better against USC. And that's the thing, like, between week 1 and week 2 is supposed to be your
That was a get-right
biggest
game.
improvement. It's your get-right game. And at points, this team looked worse. Or this defense looked worse. The offense looked great all game. But the defense struggled at times. I like the guys fighting back in the second half. I like it because when they come out and they get like a 67-yard touchdown to start the second half, it's like, you're shell shocked. Like, I think the stadium was like started booing or getting quiet or whatever. And after that, they just stopped them. And that's a good sign. But like you said, it's usually week 2 is your get right game. Week 2 is your game where you go out and you flex your muscle, not just offensively, but defensively as well. And in the first half, we didn't see that. If you look at the time of possession in the first half, it was Nicholls State 18 minutes, LSU 11. It looked ugly. It was bad to look at. Now, again, they corrected it in the second half, and that's great, but it's just something that we have to pay attention to. If we're talking about, I felt like there were times, especially in the second quarter, where we got pushed around a little bit.
No, I agree, and I think when it comes to a get right game, it doesn't always have to be you have it right after kickoff to start the football game. And even though it was ugly for LSU
They
to
win or lose
start,
the toss.
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
They
do you
received
not
the football.
There's a little part of having the ball more than we did. Like, there's a strategy to
All right,
that.
somebody else call it. I love you, brother.
All right, who we got here? All right, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Paul's around.
Oh, there you go, Paul. I baited him
There
into
we
a
go,
call.
Paul.
What you got,
Lloyd.
buddy? Paul.
Dude.
Yes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. Got
We
you,
got
buddy.
you.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't hear anybody else. I can hear you. Listen, man. I feel stupid doing this. I'm 35 years old. My son's first birthday was the day he's party. I'm calling at 11 o'clock to Jordy Culotta show. Listen, man. It did not look good.
Lay it
did
out.
not look good.
Give
Break
me
it down.
Yeah, tell me what you didn't like. Give me the ugly.
A lot of kids quitting. Like, Kyron had a great game. Can't fault him for what he did. Dude has some heart, but he gave up on a lot of plays. There was a seam up the right side, second quarter.
Yeah, we was jumping up and down.
Second quarter. No. It was the one Nussmeier. He had about 8 yards in front of Kyron. Kyron wasn't running on the play. He was just coasting. And you could see Garrett's face on TV copy, like, what the fuck, man? Like, just dejected. Because he's looking at the kid and he's like, why are you taking this play off? Sloan's trying to run guys like Williams. Well, I'll give Williams some credit. Do that part. But Caden Durham does not run between the tackles. That's
They didn't
not
try to
him
put
right
him between the tackles. They gave him everything outside until late in the game.
Why are you putting him even late in the game?
Because you're trying to work on
rushing yards do we
stuff.
have tonight? How many rushing yards do we have tonight?
Let's see. The final tally was
64?
64
Yeah,
yards.
that was concerning. I will agree with you there.
100%.
And who had the longest rush?
Nussmeier.
Nussmeier and Josh Williams both had 1 of
Nussmeier.
12.
Yeah, but is that
I'm not
what y'all
trying
were
to be
calling
the
it and
person
saying
who
that you
sit there
wanted
and
to
shit
see?
on the offensive line.
No, they can't pass. They can only pass block. The run blocking is a concern. I 100% agree. We came on here and
I'm
said
not
it.
saying they can't run block because
It's not
guys
natural.
like Emory Jones and Will Campbell, I can't look at those guys and say you can't run block. But something is missing. I think a lot of it is Sloan. I don't have any faith in him.
And that was
Kelly's on the sideline. Let me ask you this. I brought this up in the chat, but I'm not trying to make something out of nothing. This is the second week in a row I've seen Kelly getting into Brad Davis's ass.
That's a
like-
decision.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, like, what is going on there? Because I haven't seen Kelly and Brad Davis get into like that since he got to LSU. And, like, second week in a row, he's getting into his ass. And I'm sitting there looking at, like, something's off. The offense looks off. Nussmeier looked good. He missed throws. Who gives a shit? Kyron had a good game. Like, whatever. But there's something off. And there's something off with Kelly. I'm not the one saying fire Kelly. We got to pay him $77 million to get rid of him? No. And anybody saying get rid of Kelly, tell me who's the coach you would have picked when we hired Kelly.
He wasn't even on the board.
Don't tell me Lane, because Lane couldn't have let. Huh?
I said he wasn't even on the board. You know, it was a bunch of.
He wasn't even on the board.
At some point, Billy Napier was on the board.
That was this show.
People wanted Billy Napier. We all know that. But if you're going to say anybody who did not move schools, so Kelly moved schools, you can keep him in. Kiffin didn't move schools. If you're going to say Kiffin, you might as well say Saban, because Saban was the best coach in the country.
Well, people want Saban back after he patted LSU on the head on game day.
Yeah, like he's ever
He ain't
even
coming
going to
back.
walk into Baton Rouge what game day makes him.
He's going to
He's
walk
never
into South
coming back.
Carolina.
Yeah, because game day's making him go. That's the only reason. The only person that wants to go back to South Carolina is fucking Maneri. Look.
That was good. That was good.
I don't know if he wants to be
that
there
was
either.
Good. That was good.
No, but
They got pristine golf courses there.
I agree that the run game is
Great
an
golf
issue.
courses, really close to Pinehurst, but man, I don't know if Maneri's the answer for South Carolina.
No, that's.
And I like Maneri.
Me
Not,
too.
not putting down on Maneri.
No, you can't.
No, dude's a legend.
One with LSU. I mean,
Tell me how to look at this game. And if you tell me to look at this game as a scrimmage, Lord, I swear to God, I'm coming to the phone. This was not. You can't. BK didn't get that hot against USC until after the game. He wanted to kill Ramos. I thought he was going to choke slam him. I thought it was going to be a second death under Kelly's tenure in college, in coaching.
And the wind won't even blow it.
He about grabbed Ramos and threw him to the fucking turf.
And
Three times he grabbed that dude by the chest pads and was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Did you see that play out in real time? Were you at the game?
I was watching a TV copy. But they didn't go off of the field between, so there wasn't a commercial break. It looked like a soup sandwich. It didn't look good.
Right, and that's.
I don't know what the fuck was going on. You had one kick blocked and one I thought was blocked. The second one, I think it was just a shank.
I'll give Ramos some credit here because he makes those within that yardage. I think the quick change and everything that was going on was a lot to handle for a bunch of people where you don't know what's going on. You have the offense on the field, and that's kind of on officiating to where you have a play run, then it gets blocked. That's fine, but then they blow the whistle, and you put the offense on the field, and then you bring the kick team on the field quickly because you don't know what time is on the clock. That's more on officiating than it is on coaching. Like, you can't run a kicker out there and say, hey, knock one down.
For the second kick. The kicking team was on the field for the second kick.
And you had 3 seconds to get the snap off. You're going against it's not an untimed down. You're going against the clock. As soon as he blows it to play, you have to get that thing ready.
Yeah, but it was basically set up for them to get the snap off. Like, watching it on the TV copy, they were on the field. Ramos was lined up.
No, they had the offense on the field because there were 7 seconds on the clock.
Ramos was doing bad, huh?
There were 7 seconds on the clock until they came back on to the game, and they changed it to 3. So they ran the special teams on. So he was in the net. Then they ran him on, so he didn't really have a chance to settle in.
That's not what I remember, Lloyd. I'm not saying. I'm saying this so they had 7 seconds on the clock because who was it? Didn't get out of bounds. That was
Ricky Collins.
Ricky Collins.
0, I think.
It was Ricky.
Yeah, Collins. He didn't get out of bounds. Kick team runs on. They try the first kick, but that was blocked. But the refs called it dead. Reviewed. So he didn't get out of bounds. But 3 seconds on the clock. But the kicking team's already on the field. They didn't leave the field. Nussmeier tried to run on the field, and Collins and them, they told him to get off. They were lined up, ready to kick. Like, Ramos backed up. They were sitting because they had the referee over the holder, kind of like wait. When he backed up, he made a big show of winding the clock, and then the snap. I'm not saying Ramos is the problem. He's not the problem.
I'm saying that's a tough spot to kick in.
Organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, 100%. I've been screaming from the clouds that when you don't have a special teams coordinator, this kind of stuff can happen.
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree wholeheartedly. There's no reason, especially having unlimited coaches on the field now.
Yeah. So
why don't you have a special teams coordinator?
I'll scream it until I get hired.
They need to hire you. But tell me where to look good. Like, if you tell me it's a scrimmage, Lloyd, I said I'm coming through the phone. The offense could not do whatever they wanted to whenever they wanted to.
Disagree.
They couldn't.
I disagree.
Y'all can disagree, and that's why we're having a conversation,
Absolutely.
guys. I get the point. But they couldn't. Now, were they worse than Nicholls? No. And that game was not even close, even when it was close. I'm looking at that game as, okay, where are they working on? What's getting better? I don't see anything better. I see a recess from USC.
And from my
right game, they did not get right. They can't get right. He just can't get right, ball.
He got drafted.
What's going on?
But the things that you wanted to work on, that you wanted to see markedly improve, which was the running game between the tackles, didn't get better. I agree with you there. Like, that's something that they tried to emphasize, and that's why
route running get worse.
Yeah, that was something that they tried to emphasize, and that's why that game was close at the beginning, is because they were clearly working on something that and this is an LSU team that, you could talk about left tackle, right tackle, all you want, that this is the best offensive line in the country. They'd never been asked to do this because they had a Heisman-winning quarterback that ran for 1,100 yards last year. This is not the same running attack that you've ever had to produce before.
No, I agree. I agree with you. Like, it's a totally different game plan. But
the more concerning part is
the FCS Heisman fucking Guggenheim.
Put a museum up. Oh wait, they do.
Yes, just wearing blackface like a true Nazi, just running down their throats. Like, they had holes of mayo. They had fucking Snow over there sucking his dick for 30 seconds each video he put out. Like, bro, like, Major Burns. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. You got heart. I'm sorry. You can't cover. You can't tackle. You can't read a line when you're down in the box. Sage Ryan, dude, you had a lot of stars next to your name. I don't see them. No, Sean Shibnall Perk.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Never buy a 7 jersey, kid. Don't wear it.
The
Go off, Sean.
4-year-old man.
Yeah, I'm 35. I'm sitting there talking to you for some goddamn reason.
That's what
My
we're here.
son's first birthday party. My son's first birthday is Tuesday. And today we had a birthday party. I'm sitting here on the phone with you assholes. But listen.
Saving this number.
I'm having a fucking heart attack by 45. But, yeah.
Hey,
but
go ahead.
where I thought the DBs were okay, but they had 15 play drives. That defense can't stay on the field for that long, especially when the offense has 3 and outs. So tell me where to find the good part. Zavion Thomas looks amazing.
There you go.
Yep. There you go. You found it yourself.
You found it yourself.
looks-
Look at that.
Well, no, I ain't fine shit because he
Put
made
the
some
gun
decisions
down.
that were weird, but he's exciting. He reminds me of the Tyron days. He's exciting.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
not.
care if he fair catches every time, as long as they win.
Yeah, exactly. That's where LSU used to be, but he's not fair catching shit. Like, he's getting hit on things that he did fair catch.
No, the opening kickoff. Oh, Bob, can we talk about that? I didn't see the flip. Who won the toss?
We don't know. We're trying to figure that out.
'Cause I swear, if that Irish fucking Nick. Oh, why? Just why?
Comments withstanding, I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense to the metrics play itself out. Like, there's been multiple coaches that have won multiple things that say, like, it just doesn't make sense. You want to be able, because you're in the same spot that USC would have been in, wherever you get the ball at the end of the first half to be able to kick a field goal, get the ball back, be able to score, and then you have the ball to salt the game away at the end of the fourth. Like, that's how it works. That's what the clock does. You can't fight time, brother, as much as we try.
No, you can't fight time. You get Zavion Thomas 8 yards deep in the end zone trying to take the opening kickoff out. I mean, he made it look exciting. I was on the edge of my couch. Let's fuck. So what's the line you think for South Carolina this week?
God, I hope it's low.
It's going to be.
I would
No,
say,
but what do you really think it is? Like, because
I would say
do you
10
think
and a-
LSU's
10 and a
favored
half,
in this game?
10.5, 14.
You think LSU's favored by
Yeah.
10.5, 14?
Yeah.
I don't see it over 7.
I think at game time it's going to be around 8.5. Is my guess.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Like, you have a team that got what you wanted to see from LSU, and South Carolina had a markedly tougher test where the game was still in the balance for a good time. We don't know how good Kentucky is, but LSU played they were prepped to play USC and win that game. This was an obvious letdown spot where, all right, let's fix the things that we didn't get right. Did they fix everything? No. Should they be better? Yeah, people expect to see.
You keep calling this game a scrimmage, Lloyd. It wasn't. They kept
you
the
won about
score.
20.
Yes, I know. I get that. They fixed some things in the second half here and there. And I also think you just beat those poor bastards into a submission and had multiple injuries on their side. I kind of feel bad for Nicholls on that end because they basically got paid to get half their offensive line injured.
Oh, Perk killed somebody.
Well, I mean, it's better than Kyron with a fake fucking gun. Just listen. By the way, watch Cam Newton's reaction to Kyron Lacey. It is Picasso, like chef's kiss. But you can't keep calling this a scrimmage.
All right.
It didn't look like a JV team facing. Like we would look at Nicholls as JV versus LSU, right?
Nicholls
High school
is good.
JV, LSU. They did not look like that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that wasn't the same team that played USC.
No, of course.
Not at all.
Obvious
Not at all.
letdown spot. I appreciate your call. Thank you, brother. We got more on the line.
All right, buddy. I'll be good.
You're the best.
Outstanding.
That's the voice of LSU right
it
there.
really is. That was to a T exactly what
All
I
of your
expected.
concerns.
But I mean, I agree with him on
I
some
just see it
points.
through a different lens.
Right, me as well. I think when it comes to this football game, it would be wrong to think that LSU was going to wholly expound and get better at what they failed at against USC. They tried. They tried to get the run game right. That's why the scoreboard looked the way it did in the first half. I agree with you, Lloyd. And so I do think that it was not pretty. It didn't look like LSU could do whatever they wanted. But when you saw when Garrett Nussmeier wanted to throw the football around, he could throw the football around and do whatever he wanted. The throws that weren't, the catches that weren't made were majority because he missed the throw. You know, it wasn't because Nicholls caused anything, Lloyd.
And that's what I was saying. That's why the USC loss still hurts a little bit, because that was Garrett Nussmeier at his finest. That was the best game he could probably play, and you weren't able to capitalize on it. When you get, that's probably, like, you got to find the mean between those two of where Nussmeier's going to, like, Nuss going to put you in some spots where you're like, don't, and you got, there were some pass interference calls that were warranted and should have happened,
Right.
but those are throws that are scary against a team that you feel like you should be open against. That type of thing, that's more of probably the mean of what you're going to get from Nussmeier between those two games, where you're going to kind of hold your breath for a second. And if that's the case, you have to figure out a way to run the football. And I'll still contend that LSU's offensive line has never had to do it before.
Right.
You have new pieces everywhere. He didn't have Dellinger, but he also didn't look good trying to run the football.
Not at all.
So they're trying to run counter. They're trying to do all these things to get the offensive line in motion. And I'll still contend that they will be able to figure it out. But it's something that when you're not able to hit in camp and you're not able to run these things full go, you don't really know what you have. And this is an entirely new offensive scheme for LSU, especially losing a guy like, I'll scream to the mountaintops, like John Emery made that thing look good,
Right.
because he's been in that position before. You have Caleb Jackson that ran through high school football. You have Caden Durham. I don't think he got tackled in high school.
Right.
And you have Josh Williams, where you put him in situations. That's the only thing that I'll say. Like, if you want to call, I don't think it was as vanilla as it was against USC.
Not at all.
When it got tight. I think that there were some spots where it looked like they were very much trying to get people the ball in certain situations that Nicholls knew.
No, I agree.
Another call.
All right.
Metairie.
All right, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Julio, man, from the North Shore.
How's it going, Julio? What you got for
We
us?
live.
Man, I got a couple things, brother. I would just want to get y'all's, I guess, perspective on it. I mean, we all watch the same game, but Blake Baker on the sidelines. I know the defensive coordinator normally doesn't stand on the sidelines. I mean, do you think he's watching the field or seeing the field clear?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think he would be on the sideline if he thought it was going to hinder his viewpoint in any way. And I think the way he coaches translates best to the sideline when it comes to, he's a high energy coach. He wants to be down there with his guys to communicate. And so I don't think, I think if it was hindering his viewpoint in any way, he would make the decision to be in the booth. But I think it's more of an advantage to have him down there than not.
And one more thing to add to that is West Weeks talked about it, where West and Witt both talked about it, where it was they had some things that they saw defensively where they gave him ideas of what they were seeing, and they drew it up in the dirt as to, okay, I trust what you're seeing. Let's put this and implement into the game plan for USC. That's why he's imperative to have on the sideline in my mind.
Gotcha. Makes sense. And then the other thing too, the communication between Hankton and Sloan.
Tough.
I mean, like I said, I know Hankton's on the sideline and Sloan's up top, but I mean, is Hankton just worried about the wide receivers and just trying to draw up plays for the wide receivers to pass?
He had a play sheet tonight.
Is that why our running game is struggling? I mean, I know our offensive line doesn't look like the best offensive line like they claim they say they were, but I still think that. But I mean, are they communicating? Is Kelly saying something? Getting in the middle of everything like that.
Kelly said he's on the headset as well. I don't know how much he's involved in the offense, but that's something that he pointed out, where the green dot and having Nussmeier, there were some communication issues where LSU had to call timeouts tonight. Again, and it's a work in progress, but I think that they're all involved to sub. And I guess to your point, there would be somebody to say that is that too many voices in the room.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Is Alexander over Stamps or no?
Exciting to see Alexander back out there. Not over Stamps, but good to have. You're trying to find that cornerback too, and that was why you were able to move Sage Ryan back to safety.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he fit better there. He was moving down. He's very active around the football. Corner is him doing LSU a favor.
Yeah. I feel you. All right, guys.
All right, appreciate it.
Y'all take care, man. Always a pleasure.
You got it. But yeah, no, I mean, when it comes to that run game, it definitely was not pretty. And I went into this expecting to see a complete opposite of what I did see tonight, because you needed to see a jump forward there from what you saw last week, especially when was said to be such a massive part of the game plan and the offense. I expected to see a much better performance than I actually did. So that is, when we were talking about good, bad, and the ugly, that was the ugly for me. I think the offensive line is 100% the strongest group on this team when it comes to a unit as a whole. Because when it comes to pass blocking, they are outstanding. And they were last year. They have been this year. But when it comes to blocking for the run, they just have not answered the call. They haven't done what's been expected for them. They have not been able to create the openings and the opportunities for these running backs to take advantage of the opportunity. And like Lloyd said, and I do agree with Lloyd, it's because they've never had to do it before. And you can only prepare yourself so much throughout fall camp and throughout spring, because you're not hitting, you're not fully packed, like you're not going through a full game like you are tonight. And so I think what really is going to be important is what we see next Saturday against an SEC opponent in an away stadium, because tonight, like Lloyd said, you don't want to look too deep into it. Yes, there can be concerns. I am concerned about the run game.
I'm concerned about the run game.
You should have been able to make strides against Nicholls State, and you didn't. And so hopefully the hope is they see what they did wrong. They were able to get some good live reps, and they're able to improve upon it and figure it out mentally before they get on the plane to go to South Carolina. Because that is where I will most definitely agree with the concern LSU fans have. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, I think Asham Stamps is your clear-cut cornerback one. I don't think
he got picked on a little bit tonight.
He did, but I still think that he is 100% the guy that should be matched up against the number one receiver for whoever the opponent is. And I think defensively, that second half was much more of what you expected LSU defense to look like against Nicholls. They were able to stop the run. They were breaking up passes. P.J. Woodland had, I think, was he the one that forced the fumble? Was it P.J.?
It was P.J.
Yeah, and you were able to get a takeaway. I would have liked to see more.
Was it Gilbert that came in the second half and immediately, there was both of them?
Yeah. I would have liked to see
He
some
drops
more.
the fucking hammer.
He does.
P.J. has been very impressive.
I agree.
He's been very impressive. Like, even last week, he got that PI called on him, and then the next play he gets a
pass breakup.
Pass breakup, a PBU. Yep. And it really, shows, you're able to move on. You're able to move on from play to play to play. Like, I messed up that last play. Who cares? I'm just going to put my head down and make a great play on this one. And then, he forced a fumble tonight, and I'd say PJ is the guy who has stood out to me the most these two games.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they utilize both he and Alexander, because it was extremely interesting to see, because you heard Brian Kelly's comments that they were working on special teams.
Right.
And then for him to get some snaps out there, he must have felt great pregame. And that's somebody that can also change what you do defensively. And I think moving Sage to safety will help LSU a ton. It's not like that's not his position, man. He's not a cornerback. I understand people shit on him all the time, but he's trying, like I said, he's doing LSU a favor by being out there. He wanted into the portal, didn't, came back with probably the problems that you're going to play safety, then gets moved to corner again. And he's like, dude, I don't play this position. Right. And you have the unfortunate, situation with Taviano. I don't know if you saw him tonight. There's a couple of different things that LSU has. They're facing a little bit of circumstance that you wouldn't expect this early in the year. But the one thing I'll circle back to, because now the box score's out. 21 attempts, 64 rushing yards is tough. And you can say that, hey, Nicholls wants to stop you from running the football. Shouldn't matter.
No, not when you're LSU.
Yeah.
This is LSU football.
You should be able to do whatever you want.
Especially against an FCS program, regardless of who it is. I don't care how inspired they are to play in their home state. I don't care, how excited they are to be in Tiger Stadium. You are LSU playing against an FCS opponent, and you made it a point to improve in the run game, and you didn't do it. We've got another caller here.
From Billy Purdue.
All right, Billy.
To accept, press 1.
No.
Never mind.
I'll call you back, Bill.
And so that was the concern. Justin, you can go ahead.
So about that, it's kind of weird because coming into the season, you had talked about how this O-line had the chance to be one of the best O-lines in the country.
Right.
You see that in pass pro. You see that. In run protection, you don't. And it's really weird to me because I thought coming into the season, as you said, Noah, this O-line is your best position group on the team. You got to utilize them. And how do you utilize the O-line? You run the football. You run it down their throat. You have long drives. You have 6, 7, 8-minute drives. And we haven't been able to see that yet because you're not able to run the ball. But it's like Lloyd just said, that for 2 years they had Jayden Daniels, a mobile quarterback who he was your running game. When you wanted to run, you ran it with him. You can't do that with Nuss. So, and I say you can't
12
do
yards.
that with Nuss.
It looked good.
Yeah. That's
it wasn't
another
Jayden,
thing,
but it
too.
did look good.
That's another thing,
It's a threat.
too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And part of that, I don't mean to cut you off, but part of that is they're terrified for him to be injured. Like you can't run him as much. Like Jayden Daniels, as much as he was able to run, it's because you had Garrett Nussmeier. Like
behind him,
we'll still be able to win football games if you're LSU. In this sense, like
I
Ricky
love
Collins,
Ricky, and I like AJ, but it's
it
just
changes your win-loss
100%.
percentage 1,000%. And that's not a knock on Ricky. He hadn't done it as long as Nuss has.
Right.
That's just where you are, and I would love to see Nuss run it more because you have to show it.
You have to.
Because when you get, and I would love to see more, like I saw Texas State get into full house pistol on 3rd and 1 and run it right at you. Like you have to be able to set up a little bit more to like, if you're Caleb Jackson, like let me get going forward a little bit. And if you're not going to do that, then you have to start doing more of what you did when you scored your, what was it, the touchdown on the first drive of the third quarter, where you got it to Zavion Thomas or Anderson outside, and it's like a pop pass, get going.
Yeah.
Like you have to either pick one.
Right.
You have to be able to convert those 3rd and 1s against teams like USC to win the game.
It's not going to
you
get
have
easier
to
in the
convert
SEC.
those.
No, not at all. It's not going to be easy on Saturday. As much as South Carolina maybe won't have the same dudes that the LSU has. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy because they absolutely manhandled Kentucky in the second half. The South Carolina defense is pretty impressive. Now, the offense kind of struggled, but their defense did look good.
That freshman's a stud.
Monster. Absolutely
He went through a
monster.
triple team.
He did.
But in pass pro, I'm not worried about him.
Right. Pass protection is not an issue for LSU.
Yeah.
But I have concern about the run game after tonight. When it's really not a game I'm putting a lot of stock into. So if you continue to see issues, we're going to be live doing a watch party in here on Saturday for the South Carolina game. If we sit down and the run game has not improved for that game on Saturday,
what would make you think it would?
nothing. But there has to be something. There has to be some sort of rule, whether it's play calling, like the scheme, whether it's the formation, whether you're able to set it up with a Nussmeier run, you're using more of those pop passes, tight end screens, running back screens, wide receivers, like that all to me is essentially a part of the run game. And so if you're able to set that up and not just run inside zone up the middle every time, like
that's what you're calling.
And
right. I mean that's what they're running. I mean
that's what they're working on.
Yeah.
In my mind, like I understand the sentiment. I really do, but you would have thought it would look better tonight.
100%. It had to.
I like what you said about like if this team can't, I'm not saying they can't figure it out. I think they will. Eventually I think they will. But if you can't run the ball against South Carolina, get the ball out to your receivers like Aaron Anderson in space. Get them out and let that be your running game. Get the screens out to Aaron Anderson, to Kyron Lacey, to guys who you know have speed.
Thomas,
absolutely.
I agree.
Let that be your running game. Let the wide receiver screen be what you do to get those yards.
No, and I think when it comes to next Saturday, you've got one drive to test it out. There's no first quarter to try to figure out the run.
not in that place.
You can't figure it out on that first drive. You better switch gears pretty quick when you get the football back.
And that's what makes you concerned about LSU moving forward. If going to a South Carolina team that I wasn't high on, and obviously Mincy wasn't high on, but they proved that they could win a football game against a very physical Kentucky football team.
100%.
And if LSU can't figure it out, you're going to become very one-dimensional if you don't decide how you want to be able to do something other than drop back and pass.
I agree. And I think when that this is a game on Saturday where LSU, because of the loss to USC, you're in a spot where you have to win this football game.
And it shouldn't be a concern.
It shouldn't be.
You should be able to line up and beat them. And I think people, like I said, I'm not looking into this Nicholls game more as much as other people are. Like, I understand that you're upset, and it didn't. I don't know what people expected.
Right.
Like 42-0. This is a chance that I understand we had a little discourse with somebody that watched the game also. Said it's not a get-right game. They are. Like, LSU knows when they need to line it up, they can score, especially against a team like that, but that ain't going to be Nicholls next week, and you didn't figure out what you needed to figure out.
Well,
that's the concern.
Is it also something like, and I know Nicholls is a different team and a better team than these other teams, is it also something like your first 2 seasons under Brian Kelly, you lost week 1, and then you went out and put up 68, 69 points on the board and just went out there and crushed teams in week 2. And I know that's Southern and Grambling, but is it like
they could have if they wanted to?
This game was not that though.
But I think offensively, you 100% could have came out and scored
as much as you wanted.
I think defensively, yes, they gave up 21 points, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so I mean that wasn't because they just wanted to give it up. That was just because Nicholls scored.
And that's
3
why I'm
touchdowns.
not concerned about the defense. Like, I understand that, like I said, they're working on things because it was very evident when they wanted to buckle down. You gave up 1 touchdown, that was a different look, and then you gave up nothing after that.
Yeah.
LSU's defense is going to be fine. It's when you get into tight games, like you said, if it gets into and you run it for, and I'm sure Nicholls came in saying, let's stop the run.
Yeah.
Because that's what they want to do. But even with that withstanding,
that shouldn't be. Against Nicholls, that shouldn't be.
That's the only concern for me. Like,
I'm with you.
You're going to have to start seeing Nuss pull it because you saw him get mobile for a little bit, and it looked good. Like, he can run, and he didn't pull one again, and he shouldn't pull one this game. But when you start preparing, because you're trying to keep some stuff in the back pocket. You're not trying to – and they had to empty a little bit of what they haven't shown. Like, they did some things they didn't do against USC, whether it was Aaron Anderson in motion or Zavion Thomas in motion. They did some things offensively that you haven't seen. But when they had to have it, when it got a little tight, they showed it, and it's like this offense is special. If it wants to be, but it still needs to get. It needs one more gear.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If you want to get where you're going,
100%, and where you're going is you want to make the college football playoff this year, and I have concerns with the defense because I do think there has to be some personnel changes. I think there's guys that need to be moved around. I think moving Sage back to safety is a good start. I think getting PJ Woodland involved was a good start, and things like that. And I think you can continue growing that. I think Jacoby and Guillory being out is a massive concern. Because you
Justin, I'm sorry, that is a huge concern.
Yeah. I think without Jacoby and Guillory, that was kind of your calling card on the defensive line.
How much did we react to it whenever we thought he was hurt?
Right, like that, and you saw it against USC. Like, he made an impact, and so you're gonna have to see guys like Ahmad Bro step up, JVR Suggs, Jalen Lee is a guy that's got experience. Paez, who has played great. He was able to play with Jacoby and Guillory, and they were able to work off each other. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to adjust to the loss of Jacoby and Guillory, because he's not going to play on Saturday. And if he was put in a wheelchair with the leg wrapped up, he's not playing on Saturday. I don't know how long he'll be out, but he is not playing against South Carolina. So they're going to have to step up there. And I think on the back end of the defense, it's more of a personnel issue than it is anything else. I think if you move some guys around, you get some of those young guys involved, like Spears, like Jackson, like Toviano, and you're able to grow. Yeah, PJ Woodland. Like, if you're able to do that, you keep Sage at safety. I think that'll fix some of the issues we saw against USC. But tonight, defensively, one of their touchdowns was a trick play.
That you had, like...
And it was a heck of a play. That Nicholls made a heck of a play.
There was a guy behind me that was losing. He's like, what are they going to do against Alabama? I was like, Alabama's in a dogfight right now, by the way.
Against USF.
Right. Like, this happened. And it happened last year against USF.
Right.
But I was like, buddy, this is Nicholls State. They're trying to they have to run a trick play inside the 20 to be able to score. Cool. And the quarterback at Nicholls, I don't know who he is, but I guarantee you he was a 5A all-state shortstop. Like, he don't just play quarterback. That's an athlete. Yeah. And it took all of it for him to be able to catch that. So it's hard to count. That's not going to happen against you against the Power 4 team now.
I just have a question for y'all, getting y'all's opinion on talking about the defense. So I'm not concerned about Harold Perkins, because he's the
meter is ticking.
He's the best player. He's the best player on your defense. He is going to play on Sundays. But I just think back to his freshman year about games where he absolutely destroyed teams. He won you the Arkansas game.
Absolutely.
Right.
He didn't have a game like that I recall last year. And he hasn't really had, he had that one play, I believe, the first drive of the season against USC. Yep. And then after that, again in USC and in this game, you didn't really hear from him. You didn't really take over. And I'm not saying I'm fully concerned, like sounding a panic alarm on Harold Perkins, because I know he's the best player on your team, but like at some point is that a question?
No, I definitely think that concern is starting to build up. 3 tackles in total tonight for Harold Perkins is not. It's Nicholls, but 3 tackles is not enough for a guy that's supposed to be around the ball all the time.
And that's why I'll continue to kind of stay a little bit positive, because I do see a lot of good in this team. They're trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I know you have camp and all of these things where you're like, you should know what he's able to do. Right. When you get when it's live bullets, it's a little bit different. And I mentioned this earlier, but am I wrong to think that he was in a different position to start the second half? Like that, I've never seen him line up there.
No, they've definitely moved him around.
Because Major Burns has moved back to safety. If that's something that you want to do, I wish they wouldn't have gone away from it. But I understand why you do when you give him an 80-yard touchdown, and everybody's like, I don't know what we're doing. Yeah. So I get that, but that's something that I'll put a little little doggy ear on that to see if that's something to get him more involved, because like you said, the Arkansas game, that's special.
Right.
But that's also a freshman that nobody really knows anything about. Yeah. The book's out on Perk. Like, you can't let him come off the edge. They'll push you out the program.
Right.
Like, they're not going to let you wreck the game from the edge. Mm-hmm. And so you have to get creative with how you're going to use him. And I'll continue to put faith in Blake Baker that he's able to draw up plays. This is only going to get better. Like, it's Nicholls, dog.
Right. I think this next Saturday.
And you won, by the way.
Right. Next Saturday against South Carolina is going to be a game that you kind of mark down. Mm-hmm. Like this it's a turning point some way. Right. You shouldn't, but it's going to be a game that you're going to have to mark it down, put a star next to it or whatever, and be like, okay, this is LSU. Because against USC, you saw the defense be who the defense is. I think offensively, the game plan is what kind of screwed that whole situation. I think that they got outcoached. Against Nicholls, they were trying to, like Lloyd said, practice, essentially. They were trying to get things right against a lesser opponent. And
about the fight, too.
Right. And I'm not the biggest fan of that sort of mindset, because I would just want you to go out there and play football. But you had things you had to fix.
70 on them.
Right. You had things you had to fix, so you're willing to do that. And so I think Saturday against South Carolina, where it's a must-win game, it's in conference, and you're playing against an opponent at their stadium.
Every game matters now because of the USC
100%.
game. And even if you went into the year going, you can't drop the South Carolina game, no shit.
Right.
But if you win the other USC game, it's USCW,
a whole different feeling.
It's just like, okay, they're not exactly where they need to be in terms of what LSU wants to do. I still think they're extremely close, but this wasn't like, I'll continue to hang my hat on this, and I could be wrong next week. But there was a lot of what they are trying to fix, and the negative of it is you didn't fix anything.
No,
you can't run for 65 against.
I think the South Carolina game next week is way more.
They'll be able to win that game if they want to.
More,
but it's still don't have a running game yet.
It's way more important, or it's way more of a statement game
Absolutely.
than people thought it was going to have to be going into the season.
And I think a lot of people looked at the scores from week 1 where LSU played a premier opponent and everybody else played down.
Right.
And they're like, I expect 77-0.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to happen. Nicholls won their conference last year. Like, as much as Brian Kelly didn't want to, it took him a second to find it. But that's a team that wants to play you, and you're trying to, you're getting the best reps you can get from JV. Sometimes they'll hit you in the mouth, and okay, we're going to have to actually open it up a little bit.
I think people expected
77-0.
What you saw in the Southern and the Grambling game.
Right.
That's what people expected.
Last year, you were down to Grambling.
Right, yeah. I mean, last year you needed, to start that game, you needed Jayden Daniels to go down and score a touchdown every single drive.
And that's where it's different.
Right.
I understand, but I think people are looking far too much into the first half as opposed to the second half after the 10-minute mark.
Right.
Where they buckled down, and it was, you aren't getting anything more than you ever again.
I agree.
And that's a team that they could have beat Nicholls into submission. They
Yeah.
were working on things. It's so apparent, but get mad if you want.
Yeah. No,
That's why we love you.
I have two concerns after this game. It's the run game offensively and Jacoby and Guillory being out on defense. Those are the two things that I will.
The wheelchairs.
I know. I will mark down.
Alexandria.com.
Right. But the real concern can come after next Saturday. That's where real concern starts. If LSU's not able to somewhat create a run game or a short pass, something outside of.
It might be Juwan Johnson, brother.
It might be something outside of Nussmeier to Lacey and Nussmeier to Taylor. You have to get away because you can take away one receiver. I don't care how good
Somebody's
they
gonna
are.
have somebody to match up with at
you
some
can
point.
you can take away Kyron Lacey at some point.
It's like
Malik
Ed Reed
Neighbors
said.
didn't go for 200 every game last year. You can take away a receiver if you want to, and so LSU has to find something outside of that game because the first drive against USC it was 13-2 every time.
It's just so
And
hard.
tonight, LSU did the same thing. It's Nussmeier to Lacey, and so
stick routes.
right, and it
You're
looks
forcing it
great
to him a little bit.
but you have to find something outside of it. Whether it's C.J. Daniels, what was a good sign to see him be able to make an impact. I think his final line was 4 catches for 71 yards. He was your leading
Huge
receiver.
third down.
He played good. You obviously there's a trust factor in Mason Taylor, and so I think really that's kind of the core right there. You need more outside of it. Aaron Anderson, Zavion Thomas,
Which is there.
right? It's all right there, and so you have to scheme wise make that happen against South Carolina. It's a must.
I'm okay with the passing game. I really am. I agree with some of the sentiment that you're saying. There is some times where it feels like where else are you going to go with the football sometimes? But then you look at the other side of the coin at USC. Why didn't you go to 2?
Right.
And I get it, but that was one of Nussmeier's best games I've seen him play.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a time where that's not there, and I don't know where they look if that's not there. But you have so many playmakers, but it feels like those playmakers are specific plays that are schemed up. Certainly when Caden Durham came into the game, first play was tossed outside from shotgun.
Yeah.
You don't think Nicholls knew that he was trying to get him outside?
Right.
That kind of thing is you would hope you'd be able to block it up.
Yeah.
You can't. But you're becoming a little bit predictable in some of those things. But I also saw some great things with Zavion Thomas and Aaron Anderson in motion. But those are kind of one-trick ponies in a sense where how many times can you do it before you have to have something on top of that?
Yeah.
And it was very exciting to see Trey'Dez Green get out there a ton.
Right.
Did you see Pimpton a lot? Because I didn't.
saw Green more than I saw
Me
Pimpton.
too, and that's where I keep going back to. This was a feel it out game. Trey'Dez, go out there and see, show us what you got.
Yeah,
We
do
kind of
something.
know what we have in Pimpton, and I'm sure it was a little bit of, hey, can you run block? And the answer is probably no.
Yeah. No, and I think
But this might be Mac Markway's fault.
honestly it could be, but I think
dude, when we were at practice, he played a ton.
no, I know for sure. I mean, they put Bo Bordelon out there in '89 as an additional blocker, which I mean I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think that was actually
ears just perked up.
yeah, I think that was actually on the Trey'Dez touchdown. They had Bordelon in '89.
But you need somebody else to. It feels like LSU needs a little bit of help on that part of the. But that said, you're still not blocking it up the middle.
Right. And also another thing that isn't a concern, but I would have liked to see one sack.
They ran the shit out the football.
They sure
didn't
did.
give you a lot of opportunities,
But
and they got rid of it so
they
fast.
did.
And that's where this isn't a concern for me, but it was definitely interesting to see Stamps get picked on a little bit. They went right at him.
They did.
And you saw him play against USC, where it's like, oh, that's cornerback 1.
Right.
and we were going to go right at him.
Yeah.
So those type of things are
He's
just
going to respond.
Yeah, I don't think he probably expected that.
Yeah. No, but I didn't. I didn't see that coming. I didn't think they were going to be like, oh, I mean, Stamps played great against USC. Let's go right at him.
And that's part of the sleep factor of, dude, USC, this is the biggest game of clearly your year so far, and you start off like that, and now you have to wake up and go play Nicholls. Like, I'm not going to be all the way in. Yeah. And that's fine. Like, that's human nature.
No, I agree. And I think big picture-wise, let's take a step back and look where we're at. Yes. I know that year 3 has been honestly blown out of proportion by people like us. Like, Les Miles won in year 3. Nick Saban won in year 3. Ed Ogeron won in year 3. But let's think about what Brian Kelly took over in year 1. What was the scholarship count? Lloyd, was it 39? It was like 40 players. Like, yeah, year 3 is important. Brian Kelly even put the emphasis on year 3.
I would have.
But you're still in the mix. Like, you can still make it happen. You've got the staff. I wouldn't say this is Brian Kelly's staff because Brian Kelly brought in his staff and it was a failure.
He got the right staff.
This is
Scott's staff.
Yes, he's got Scott's staff. He's got really LSU fans' staff. I think more.
And it's not wrong.
Yeah, they're not. They've nailed it. And so I think, yes, there should still be an emphasis put on this year. But go look at that 2025 recruiting class.
Yeah.
Like, let's take a peek at that.
Blowing shit up.
Right. Like, it's there's no the Brian Kelly needs to be fired thing. First of all, they're not going to give him $77 million to go hire. Thank you. Like, no, what? Don't even think about it.
Yeah,
because
who would you hire?
He's got
two parts are in place.
2 10-win seasons. This team is still very well in the mix. I know that there's concern, but this is a talented team that is in the mix. Yes, there's things that need to get fixed. There is no run game. That's an issue. Like it's
I think
a problem.
that's really the glaring thing.
100%, because you're going to need something at some point. And so I think scheme-wise, Joe Sloan's got steps that need to be taken. Like he has not impressed me through 2 games as the play caller.
And I tried to say it before the year, and it's no knock on Sloan because I think he will be elite at some point. But I think it was easy to call plays with Jayden Daniels.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, would call it, and then whatever happens.
Right. And I
they
think
didn't call an 85-yard touchdown run against Florida. That wasn't dialed up. That was an athlete being special.
And I wasn't overly sold on Mike Denbrock when he was here.
No, I wasn't. They just lost to Northern Illinois.
14-16. You know, like I don't think it's you lost Denbrock to Sloan. That's the issue. The issue is Jayden Daniels is one of a kind. You know, like
he's the ultimate weapon in football.
100%.
For the people who are like dissing BK and like saying stuff, you went to the SEC championship game in your first season at LSU, and your starting quarterback won the Heisman Trophy last year.
Right. Well, and I think
he's definitely got some notches in his belt.
Like,
and I think another notch on your belt.
I think last year, last year was your national championship team. If you have a
defense, this defense.
This defense, you win the national championship with that offense.
Yeah.
And so, like, the hate on BK, he got into Damian Ramos going into the locker room at half. And it's a
mismanagement.
It was a mismanagement by the officials.
Stop blaming it on other people.
It was a mismanagement by the coaching staff. It was all a mess. And I wasn't the biggest fan of.
I wouldn't even blame BK for that. That was officiating.
It was an absolute mess. But like
punting was good.
The punting, I was impressed. I'm not what I expected. Come on. But and then like him getting into Brad Davis about the run game, that's his job. Like he's supposed to go to his assistant coaches and be like, figure it out. Like he is the head coach.
He's the CEO of the team.
He's not disrespecting Brad Davis. You think Brad Davis is going to be upset
angry
that the head coach is telling me to fix? Yeah, I got something I have to fix.
I know that, but I'm definitely going to hear about it.
Right, and so like the pressure is on. Like Brian Kelly feels it, like, and it's kind of evident. Like you can
even
see
him
it.
knowing.
Right, you can see it.
But he did, and you'd say what you want about him. He didn't come down here for this pressure, and he may not have known what it was because Notre Dame probably feels like a pressure cooker. But this is different where people evaluate, scrutinize, and get people fired a la Polian in year 1. Like, you can't do that here because people are watching.
Right.
And for good, bad, or indifferent, every game that you play has eyes on you. Like, you can play an ESPN Plus game against Nicholls and have reaction like we have today.
Yeah.
That's part of the job that you've
LSU.
taken. And I think he realizes that more and more every time where that's why I'm so angry. And I get put a period on the statement, but it's also him going like, buddy, we got to figure this fucking thing out.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's why you get into, like, you can be the one that's wrong, but you also still are the head coach, and I have the right to yell at some guys, be like, I trusted you to do this.
Yeah. No.
It's part of it.
I agree. And I think even if they don't win the national championship
They're not a
this year,
national championship team
they're
right
not.
now.
They're not. They can make the playoffs,
They're not.
But
the reason why they might be a playoff team is people are dropping like flies.
Right.
Like, LSU's not the only one with issues right now.
not at all. Not at all. I mean, Alabama won, and they have issues. Like, LSU's
Notre
not
Dame
the
beat
only.
A&M, and you could have been Notre Dame today.
100%.
Keep fighting. Keep just
have to keep
getting
moving
in
in
the
the right
W
direction.
column.
I agree. This team still has a chance to make the playoff. I mean, in my opinion, right now, the way it looks, it's Georgia, Texas, and everybody else.
I agree.
Yep.
I think
That's the way
and I
it
think that's if that's the measuring.
Tennessee's in that mix.
Yeah, that's the measure. Those are the three best teams in the SEC.
And they're all in the SEC. I was going to say the country, and they're all in
Right.
the SEC. We'll see what Oregon does.
Yeah, no, and that's the measuring stick. LSU gets throttled by Georgia or Texas if they play if they meet on the field.
I don't know if throttled. I think that they can compete with anybody.
I agree that you can compete, but I just
Winning
you're not
is different.
close. You're not
I
close.
don't know. You're not
You had
there
A&M
yet. You're not there.
You had Clemson have Georgia 6-0 at half.
Right.
Like, the talent disparity is not that much. It just, you have to play a perfect game, and
Yeah.
LSU was very close to playing a perfect game against USC, and now
Right.
they're in a. Did they win?
I think
They're
still
playing
playing
right now.
Why is that TV not on?
I don't know. Let's
I don't
double
know.
check some scores here. To kind of let's see. Oregon 27-20 with Boise State here in the
Oh,
third quarter.
man.
Y'all are in. Stop
Yeah,
panicking.
come on.
This is hard.
Arizona, who's number 20, is only up 13-10 against North Arizona. Who?
Their quarterback for Arizona.
Oh, let's see.
He's a slinger.
He sure enough is. He's got an interception. Yep.
Yep.
USC is up 20-0 against Utah State.
Yeah.
And then let's see if there's anything else interesting going on. Clemson scored 66 points against App State. Oklahoma
You know
only
people
beats
lost money on that?
what? Oklahoma only beats Houston 16-12.
I was wrong about Oklahoma. I thought they
Oklahoma
looked
scores 16 points. Jackson Arnold 19 for 32
good. Oh, no.
for 174 yards.
And people are panicking here.
Yep. And
It's all around the country. Teams are better.
is. And so it's like Alabama ended up winning 42-16
Yeah.
actually. They scored 28 points in the fourth quarter.
Here's the thing.
That's a run
It was-
that's a
it
run it
was-
up special.
It was 14-13.
Nussmeier again.
Got
Do you want to know? Do you know his final numbers?
Well, I think he had 10 incompletions.
Oh, forget your brain.
Yeah.
Damn it.
He had 6.
Much more fun to do with
He had-
Jordy.
Okay, so
He was what, 27 for 37, 6
6 sons.
touchdowns.
so
And he
here's
had
the thing.
300 and
Oh, Hunter Hall's called in.
Hunter Hall. Let's see.
All right,
Let's see what he's
buddy.
got to say.
Oh,
What's up?
Hunter, let's hear it, buddy.
To accept.
What's up,
Hunter, how's it going?
Do you feel
what
blessed?
in the world is this Alabama slander that we're talking about?
Way to run it up, huh?
I mean, yeah, really made it look pretty in the scoreboard
mean-
in this book, huh?
Yeah, you're not used to that, are you?
Well, look, we had to break the glass in case of emergency and put our offensive line back together there at the very end, and you saw what happened. I mean, we scored 28 there in the fourth quarter. We make it look like it should. And we didn't start a lacrosse player tonight, so a quarterback. So we're good.
Dude, how
We're
nervous
good.
were you going into that game? You're like, USF? I don't know.
With the history with USF, yeah, pretty.
It's a
pretty
2-year
well
history, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it goes back. It goes back to early 2000s. It's
When nobody was watching.
they've always
I
played
mean, when you
close.
saw the
Yeah.
performance that Barstool
It's wild.
USF was putting on Twitter, you had to know something was coming. The Twitter sphere for USF was outstanding over the last week.
But they almost ruined a pretty great night in Tuscaloosa with for Saban. I mean that would have been pretty rough.
Yeah,
What
for
do you
sure.
mean?
Saban Field.
They put the
Oh
they named
my
the field
God.
after Saban.
Saban
Y'all
Field
and,
night,
and Caleb Williams gets his
It's
number
that-
retired. You gave him a statue
it's
and
that-
a field?
Saban
It's
Field at
Dad
Bryant
Field,
Denny
yeah.
Stadium.
It's Saban Field at Bryant Denny. Y'all are so
That's it.
good. How many can you fit in your mouth?
Hey, it's Dad Field. Hey, can we start off? Can we start off by recapping that USC game? I haven't got to talk to y'all enough about that.
What
Let's
do you
hear
wanna
it.
hear? I've got plenty of takes.
So y'all just got done talking about the Nuss to Lacey connection, about how nice that was in the first half, and it was. I mean, it was unstoppable. And then none of that in the second half. I mean, obviously the
Working on
unsportsmanlike celebration was uncalled for,
Oh.
and he didn't care about it when he got back to the bench. But
Card carrier member, 2A.
you got to go back to it in the second half. I mean, it was like they just got way too arrogant on this thought of, hey, we're going to run the ball, we're going to run the clock out and get back to Baton Rouge with a win. And it's like this Nussmeier to Lacey connection works, and they just stopped. I don't understand. I don't understand.
It became, I think you're correct, and obviously you look at it through a different lens than we do because you have one heart and you have an eye on LSU, but it did feel a lot like peeking at the clock to let LSU get out of here with a win. We can win it this way, and back-to-back weeks it's been, I don't know if you can run the ball, buddy.
I don't know. I don't know if LSU can run the ball, and I can't believe I just said that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a legitimate issue. The running game is a legitimate problem because you couldn't buckle down and do it against Nicholls.
I mean, hey, if BK's dead set on scoring on 4th and short there at the goal line, why not roll Mason Taylor out to the pylon and hit him right there?
You know that pretty well, huh?
I've seen it once or 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's
As have we.
But hey, enough about USC. And admittedly, I didn't watch any of the game tonight, but I did see that it was 21-23, and Ricky Collins was
ripped it
quarterback.
Yep.
Nussmeier was cramping up.
Deal?
Nussmeier cramped up. It was hot out there. He ran
It
one
was
time
just
and cramped up.
The sun sets in the western sky, and Nuss cramps up, huh?
It was the light show.
Yeah, they threw him off.
The light show.
Dude, it was electric. I get it. I get where y'all are coming from. It was pretty cool.
And so what's this conversation that BK had with the kicker there at halftime?
I think it was just make the kick.
I don't know why he would be mad at.
I
it was
didn't
interesting.
understand
It was a debacle.
It was a mess, but it was set up for Ramos to have the opportunity to make the kick. They kind of made it possible for LSU.
Well, they had the offense on, and they had the kicker on, and they had the offense on again, and then the kicker on, and the officials don't know how to. I'll stand by this. They don't understand running clock. They don't understand what happens with the new rules. And I know it's under 2 minutes, but they're still confused. Get ready. It's going to happen to you, too.
Hey, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it happened at the Kansas-Illinois game tonight, too. Just gross mismanagement of 2-minute drill in college football with that under 2-minute timeout, and people don't know.
Why don't they call the 2-minute warning?
And it's not just
is it trademark?
It's not just they're not allowed to
trademark.
it's not that
They're
they
not allowed
don't
to
call
say it?
They're not allowed to say it. Like
That's the
I heard the
NFL
guy on
is-
TV was like, the 2-minute timeout. I really want to call it the other thing, but I can't. I was like, like it's a legitimate rule.
The NFL just
They can't say 2-minute warning.
they lord over everything.
They do. They sure do. Even Brazil.
Everything.
Get ready for the playoff. Whatever LSU maybe. Whatever college football and the NFL are button heads.
Yeah.
And they're all going to be the big game.
The big game.
Game.
I mean, hey, here's the thing. Look, BK's won, 10 plus the last 7 seasons. I mean, going back to Notre Dame, I mean, the guy's a winner. He knows the game, and he knows what he's doing there at LSU. I mean, you guys are going to be all right. Like Dad said this morning, you're not as bad as you think you are.
So I didn't know whether to take that as a compliment or a slap on the mouth.
Hey,
don't be. Hey, 3-year deal. He looks sprightly out there on television.
He sure does.
How mad would
loves
you
it.
be?
And Hey,
Would
Dad
you
loves
come
his,
on back
sweet
home,
there in
brother?
Tuscaloosa. Dad loves his sweet in Tuscaloosa. He's been there 2 weeks in a row.
Would y'all rename the field again? If Nick Saban comes to LSU? That would be so sweet. LSU goes in with Nick Saban too, Nick Saban Field, and plants the flag again.
Oh, you know that wouldn't happen. You know that wouldn't happen.
You worry about USF, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. 'Cause it's going to happen
we got the offensive line. And
y'all running the ball?
intact. Yeah, we ran the ball in the fourth quarter. We sure did with Jam and Justice.
I mean,
And
we ran
what's
the
that
ball
wide
all the way to
receiver?
Milrow fumbling on the line.
Those are the Louisiana products. You ain't getting no
Well,
moss.
going back to that Milrow fumble at the goal line, that was the first play we've ran under center since 2009, maybe?
Blake Sims, AJ McCarron, definitely. There's a fight on the field against Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Wow. Hey, shout out to Auburn today, too, by the way.
Did they drop one?
They did to Cal.
Cal,
buddy.
yeah.
They lost the libtards of Cal. I mean, wow.
Hey, colors are blue for a reason, I guess.
Man. Wow. Yeah, that was – I think Peyton Thorne had –
That's unbelievable to me
turnovers.
that they kept him at quarterback as the starter.
Wow, man. He ain't it.
And that's Gus.
He ain't it.
I mean,
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze,
I
I'm
mean,
sorry. Like, he
Yeah,
gets
that's
a
Hugh
quarterback.
Freeze.
I'm surprised they didn't get one out the portal. He's like, no, I'm thinking about my guys. Like, that's a Big 12 quarterback in the SEC. We see how that works out. They should go the other direction.
Did you see Michigan State beat Maryland today?
They finally got a win.
How about that?
I had
I think that
Texas and Okie State.
I think that was at Maryland too. Did I see USC was up 10-0 against Utah State at halftime?
It was close for a second.
Yeah, they're winning 20,
LSU took all they could out of them.
20-0 right now.
Yeah,
27-0.
short week, very tired.
Yeah, I mean, LSU was doing the same thing. Like, we had a lot of focus on what was, not in front of us. It was put everything into the bucket for week one, and then you get through week two. How did DJ
How
Lagway
worried
play?
are we about?
He was.
How worried are we about the 11 a.m. sandstorm?
That's a concern. Yeah, they didn't have to bring game day there. That's for sure.
Yeah,
like,
that
what else is
necessary.
in week three? There's not something else.
DJ Lagway, 456 for 3 TDs.
On 18 completions. 456 on
That's a
18
Billy. That's a
completions.
Billy offense. Y'all laugh.
Jeez.
Freezing cold takes are no longer cold.
Yep.
It's lukewarm.
Week 3 football. Arizona, Kansas State.
That's Friday.
Alabama, Wisconsin. That's on Friday.
What about that one? That's a much better game.
Alabama, Wisconsin.
We're jumping around.
Y'all are
right?
going to Wisconsin. That would be so much more fun to put
Missouri,
on TV.
Boston College.
Sleeper alert.
Tulane, Oklahoma.
Tulane just won.
Yeah.
No, they
No, they
they
didn't.
lost.
No, they got
Controversial,
beat.
huh?
Lost at the end, yeah.
All right,
If they would have won, that might have been
Humble.
Georgia, Kentucky.
nobody.
I guess
This is-
Oregon State. It's.
What, the Civil War?
Next week's kind of lacking.
It is.
But it's certainly not LSU, South
LSU,
Carolina.
South Carolina
They're,
is the one.
they're
It's
picking
Wisconsin
on
and Bama. It should be, but
Wait.
it's,
Wisconsin. Bama is much more interesting.
You think so?
You get both conferences.
Yeah.
And you're glad that it's not there. Are you gonna go? You should.
No, the
spread?
home front.
The
keeping
spread's
me
only
at,
9. Alabama's favored by
keeping me
9.5.
down.
What
Yeah,
did they do
because
today?
you saw what Wisconsin had their hands full.
Yeah, I know. Did they win?
Yeah,
27-13 South Dakota.
Yeah,
they
maybe
got
that's right.
ranked
Everybody shit
too.
the bed for it to be LSU, South Carolina.
Yeah.
That game could have been
Wait,
a
is that a
sleeper.
fact?
Don't worry, but maybe you know what? I'll spin into a positive here. Get the fuck up.
Yeah. Let's
You
play.
can't be
Let's do it.
sleepy. Now it's a time that look, eyes of nation are upon you again. You have to
Wait,
be
that's
buckle
a
it the
fact?
fuck up.
Game day is going to be in Columbia next week.
It
That's
is.
the rumor. Very
That's what they
substantiated.
said.
Announcement.
that's the announcement.
Y'all
been
just
officially announced.
y'all just ranked these games, and I think LSU and South Carolina is pretty high up there.
Yeah, it's below Alabama. I mean, it's above Alabama.
It'd probably be maybe
Did we
two.
just rank the games before the week of the games that we just ranked?
We never got to that
Yep.
segment, unfortunately. let's get to these rankings. Show's over, buddy. Sorry. The 30-30-30 club will take care of that.
Yeah, we got you, man.
Hey,
We'll do it next
leave
week.
it to that. All right. Hey, y'all have a good one.
Dude,
You
I
too,
appreciate
buddy.
you for tuning in, buddy.
Yes, sir. See y'all.
Later. What's the spread? Do they have an early
They don't
spread
have a
out?
spread for
Yeah,
us.
I wouldn't either.
No, they're not going to touch that.
7.5 to 10.5.
Can I make one point real quick?
No, dude.
So, for everybody panicking out there, looking at the scores from week 1 and week 2, Oregon beat Idaho by 10. Bama was in a dogfight with USF. Penn State was almost lost to Bowling Green today.
Should have.
Should have. Notre Dame got upset by Northern Illinois, which was fantastic.
Where's your God?
And I'm sure there's other games that were closer than people expected. So it's like
That's week 1 and 2 where you could find.
LSU is not the only team
Not at all.
that is like it's not like LSU is the only team in this situation. Look, it wasn't a perfect game tonight by any means. It wasn't a great game tonight by any means, but the fact is that this is college football. Other teams are going through the same thing. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna figure out who this team is next week. I think. I think
You'll
you will
get
figure out who this team is.
As much as other teams are going through it as well, it doesn't take away from the fact that it is a must-win on Saturday against.
Yes.
It's always been a must-win, though.
Yeah.
Doesn't change
100%.
anything. And that's why I've come
cannot
around
lose that game.
to the other side of this being a game day. Not only is it a must-win, once you get this, I think this helps LSU in the sense of instead of everybody having your eyes on you getting Ole Miss, like it was going to be LSU Ole Miss game day, no doubt. If Ole Miss keeps rolling the way they were and LSU goes in there with one loss,
Right.
and then it becomes everybody's looking at you again.
Yeah.
Who are you? This is a great pretest to kind of set the stage. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
LSU's better than the national media thought. I think that's huge for them, and it gives you a reason to be like, look, don't embarrass yourselves again on national television
No,
because this is ESPN Plus. You couldn't find it if you were looking for it in the street.
headache.
It went on a milk carton.
So you can't even if you got DirecTV, you can't even find ESPN
Plus.
base.
Found Browsers
about
Plus
But
before
yeah,
I
I
could
mean
find
this
that.
this is the stretch for LSU right here. Like it. I mean, you saw Arkansas today.
This becomes that's why I think it's a win. I think it's a win that this is a game day.
Yeah, I think you've got me. Because I didn't really like it at first because why
Well, yeah,
why add the
still
pressure?
things-
Why hype South Carolina? Like
Play your best
South
game.
Carolina's going to be hyped regardless. Like this is a Shane
That's
Beamer.
Beamer.
Like this is a statement win for their program if they're able to take LSU
Hasn't been
down.
the same since he got hit in the head with the mayonnaise.
Has not. But they were able to get a big win today against Kentucky in a game that nobody thought they were going to win. They won convincingly at the end, and they were able to get a little momentum headed into LSU. So it's going to be a big matchup on Saturday for LSU to be able to turn to right the ship and be able to figure something out. They have to do it this Saturday against South Carolina. And I think a big piece of being able to do that is expand this passing game outside of Garrett Nussmeier to Kyron Lacey. And defensively, Harold Perkins has to be a factor against South Carolina.
Yeah.
And somebody brought up a good point in the chat. I know we've done this for forever, which is I'm cool with. I would do this anyway at home. But not having the middle of that defense, especially if Jacobin Guillory is out, how much is he getting eaten up? And maybe that's why they decided to move him outside for a second. Like you might see him in a different role against South Carolina, especially with the running quarterback. It might be a Harold Perkins circle that game.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't had to face anybody very mobile yet. Like Miller Moss ain't moving.
No.
What you saw today is at shortstop,
Right.
and then you put him against somebody like Sellers.
Yeah.
If you want to try to get him outside the pocket, go ahead. Watch Perk shine.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people have been missing. Like he hasn't had that opportunity very often. The last time you saw it was against Bryce Young.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Tanner Mordecai ain't going anywhere
No.
except for sell your insurance.
Yeah.
Jump around.
And score touchdowns on that LSU defense.
Oh.
But no,
That was a fever dream, dude.
It was. I don't want to. Really
That
think
guy's
about
going
it.
to tell his grandkids.
Of course.
I
What he
put
did
up,
to
I put up 40 against LSU. It's
LSU.
like, no, you didn't.
The LSU defense.
You can't complete a pass at Thanksgiving, brother.
Whatever. No, Saturday is massive. Like it has the aura around it has grown. It's going to be very, very important. And it was always been important, but it's going to be beyond stressed.
It's way more important than people thought it was going to be.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I guess the weight of it comes from how LSU is perceived to perform versus Nicholls, which all continue to contend that was you're playing with your food, like you do whatever you want, and that South Carolina didn't look particularly impressive against Kentucky. That's Kentucky with the coach that tried to leave to go to A&M and got left on the tarmac, where they don't know what they are either.
Yeah.
And I do think Kentucky's probably more talented, but South Carolina's put together a little bit of talent. They have a stud that you should be able to scheme against, but that's the one. Number 6 is the one guy you should be worried about. Same thing with Perk as a freshman. Don't let him beat you. Other than that, there's some concerns that you walk away from going, are you able to run the ball? That's where I think it comes from. And Jacoby and Guillory is a huge
massive
I don't know if it shows up against South Carolina, but it's something that you have to be able to fix.
Yes.
I don't know how you do it.
Somebody has to step up. You know, like somebody.
Sean Washington played well.
He did, and I think,
but he's only got so much in the thing.
Right, and I think the Guillory going down is probably a reason why you got Sean as much run as he got, because you need something there. Like, because the way they've done it's kind of been. It's been Paez and Guillory. When they go out, it's Suggs and Bro. So
and formulaic. This is what we have. This
right.
Is what
and
we're
so now
out.
you have to find something else there. I would have liked to see Dom McKinley touch the field some, but
I think I agree, and I think that's a sentiment around the public. But what you saw, me and you included, in fall practice, that Gabe Rutherford was clearly going to be the first one to touch the field, and he showed out tonight.
Definitely, but he's off the edge.
Yeah, so now
Yeah.
Dom's going to have to get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what
100%.
he does. I don't know if that's something that it's a totally different ball game in college. And if he were ready, he would have played against USC.
I agree.
And he would have played. I don't know how many snaps did he log tonight.
I don't know if he touched the field.
Right.
Ahmad Bro's the freshman D tackle.
Which I'm fine with.
He's played well, you know,
But it'd be nice to have one more.
Yeah, it would
especially
be.
now. How much did Kentucky run versus South Carolina? Because that's the calling card.
Yeah,
Man, that. Yeah.
Said we have one more time. We had time for one more call. Somebody wanted to call in.
Yep.
Oh, you want to know how popular Kentucky, South Carolina is? They brought up basketball.
Whew. Yeah.
Not what I'm looking for. I'm going to say there's a track meet, 79-62. 31-6, but it was 10-6 at half.
Yeah.
Then 14-7, and it makes it look a little bit different. Same thing with Alabama. That was not that game.
No, it was. Yeah.
Brock
I agree.
Vandergriff. They won.
Hit me.
Is this real?
Hit me with the stat line here.
3 for 10 for 30 yards?
Vandergriff.
Is
He
this
only
the
threw 10
entire
passes?
game? Oh, my God.
He only threw
What
the
are you
ball
worried
10
about South
times.
Carolina for? That's LSU can't even touch that stat line in the mid-20 teens.
3 for 10 is crazy.
And Norris Sellers went 11 for 15 for 159.
Yeah. And Raheem Sanders, Rocket.
13 for 54, Rocket.
Yep. And Robbie
This is-
Ashford.
Why are they going there?
Interesting. Interesting. I think they just think it's going to be a trap game.
It's good.
100%. So it's going to be a big
Threw
game on
for
Saturday.
100. Wait, how they threw for 100? They had another quarterback come in.
Which one?
I mean, I'm seeing 3 for 10 for 30 yards. This
Yeah.
is on the game recap from FBS. So let me know if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I see Gavin Wimsatt 3 for 7 for 14
I don't know how they have.
with a pick. They brought in another
deserve to-
quarterback and
I
he
mean,
threw a pick.
You deserve to lose.
Yeah.
Did they have a fake? Shit. I don't know. But
Yeah.
South Carolina, maybe the defense is great.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I trust
and
Nuss
they did
to
play
sling
well,
it around.
but
He's got, what, 18 incompletions, 19 incompletions in 2 games? I'm good with that. I'll
me
take
too.
that team anywhere.
And one interception and that one pick
That
was
does
the
not-
last.
that
That
doesn't count.
doesn't count. So we
All
will
right.
see y'all on
Not
Monday.
tomorrow.
On Monday, obviously for the show, but next Saturday on this channel, live watch party for LSU South Carolina.
It'll be totally hinged, dude. It'll be totally normal. Don't worry about it.
I will be completely sane.
Yep.
I promise.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be all
Nobody
right.
was going to gamble on it.
Yeah, Lloyd's gambling. But yeah, we appreciate y'all tuning in tonight.
Waiting on that dead uncle to come through.
Jordy will be back at 7 a.m. Monday on New Orleans.Football's YouTube channel. If you missed it last night here on the Jordy Culotta Show channel,
electric stuff.
We've got Dunham versus Parkview, an absolute throttling of Parkview Baptist last night.
That throw y'all posted.
Elijah Haven for Dunham put on a show. The number 1 sophomore in the country, class of 2027.
Needs to reclassify.
Quarterback for Dunham, Elijah Haven, put on a show. I was there on the sideline with my guy Sam. We were getting the content. The video is up and posted here on the channel. It's also all over our social media. And that was all brought to you by All About Inflatables. My guy Gabe Patterson owns that company. And it's rocking and rolling. It's based in Central, but it originated in Denham. They covered Denham, all of Livingston Parish. Not all of Livingston Parish, but most of Livingston Parish, especially around Central. You got Walker, Watson, Denham. He goes into Baton Rouge. It's if you've got a birthday party, if you just you got a tailgate, whatever you've got. He's got bounce houses, bouncers, games, water slides, all of it. There's the Tiger Belly bouncer for LSU football games. Could you imagine something better? So it's a very easy
week, boys.
It's a very easy way to book your slide, your inflatable, whatever you've got.
Try slides. BYU.
It's not just for kids. I actually worked with Gabe for a little while, helping him set some of these things up, and there was plenty of times that it was dropped out for just adults. Just some adults that had a little bit of that liquor and wanted to go down the slide. I wouldn't be surprised if Lloyd orders one of these coming up real soon.
I came to the club with a 9 on me.
If you enjoyed that high school football coverage and you want to see more of it, make sure to reward our guy Gabe and with All About Inflatables and get a water slide, get a bounce house, enjoy yourself.
You only live once, fellas.
You do.
Tell me anybody that's ever frowned in a bounce house or on a water slide. Can't see
Never
it.
in my life. Never in my life. But yeah, we appreciate y'all being in here, guys. Happiness, joy.
Joy is
happiness.
Jump slide, repeat.
Come on. We'll see y'all on Monday. Y'all have a good night.
The fire alarm's going off. All right. Love y'all. Later. Tell them it wasn't us.